Welcome to the Business Spotlight. My name is Jada Walker. I am your host for today's conversation, and my guest today is Danny Cahill. He is the CEO of Hobson Associates. We'll be talking about his business, the journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek of what it's really like to operate a business. So, thank you, Danny. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today. I'd love for you to share a little bit with us about your background, about who you are, and let us know a little bit about your business as well.
Cool. Okay. Sure. Thank you, Jada. So big picture, shrunk for time. I got out of school and had no idea what this company called Hobson Associates did. But I took the job as a sales trainee. Turned out it was a recruiting firm, which placed people in jobs. In those days, it was a very small fee for low-level jobs. Um, it was really kind of a boiler room experience. You came in the morning, you made 100 cold calls to people that didn't know you were calling. You called out of the yellow pages, and you tried to get companies that wanted to hire people. Um, I was really good at it. I liked it. I had fun with it. I was a high energy type A control freak person, so a straight commission job was fun for me and great. And by the time I was 24, I was making $250,000 a year in the early 80s. So I found
Yeah, that's
something.
crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. All my friends thought I was dealing drugs, but I
Of course, especially back then.
right, yeah, but I wasn't. I was paying cash for the ones I was doing, but I wasn't
Yeah.
buying them. So it came easily to me, and then about 4 years in, I decided to, make one of those life-changing decisions, and I bought the company. And so at 26, I bought the company, and the recruiting industry was transforming at the time from these sort of small boiler rooms, small fees, phone calls to computerization and emailing and working nationally and working high level jobs. So I was in it at just the right time. I hired a bunch of people who still work for me today. My goal was to build a recruiting firm that worked high levels nationally on a retained basis. And I wanted to go from a high turnover, straight commission business to a professional salary plus bonus position. And I wanted to build that company. And, I'm proud to say I did. So I did that. And I think we're probably still, I don't know if the number is still exact, but I think we're the third largest privately held search firm in the country. And after I did that, about 15 years in, people started saying, "Hey, there's this guy in Connecticut that is hitting numbers nobody's ever hit. Why don't we have him speak at our conference?" So I started speaking at conferences, and I was like, "Oh, this is a new thing. I didn't know there were conferences." And I couldn't believe people would actually pay me to speak when most of the people in my family would pay me to shut up. So I said, "Oh." I said, "Okay, let's do this." So I started a speaking business, which is called According to Danny. So yeah, I have a motivational speaking business, three best-selling books, and I run my search firm every day. So yeah, it worked out for me.
You are awesome. So you're like an all around guy. Like you have something over here, over here, over here. Because I
Yeah.
did read whenever I saw that you had written books, I was like,
Yep.
what? And I was like,
Yeah.
I went and searched your books and I was like, oh my gosh, like the one what was it? I know it has like paper clips on the front of it,
Yeah.
or at least like
Harper's
the book
Rules.
cover that
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I've seen this before. Like that was
Right.
it was like a full moment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty wild. The first when I first got it published, everybody said, the big day is going to be when you go to a bookstore and you see your book in the bookstore, and it's going to be wild. And so my publisher sent me an email saying, "Hey, it's hitting the bookstores today." So I drove to the bookstore after work, and I walked in, and there it was, surrounded by a million books, and I was like, "Oh, this is a horrible experience. Everybody keeps walking by my book and ignoring it, and
Oh
and
no.
yeah, but yeah, you learn real fast when you publish a book that the last thing the world really needs is another book, but it still feels good to do it. Yeah,
It's there for the person that needs it. That's
that's
all that
right.
matters.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so to set the stage for the viewers and listeners,
Yeah.
generally speaking, what does your current ownership structure look like? Are you like the sole founder, or you didn't found it? You actually didn't found the company. I forgot. You bought
Yeah,
the
I
company.
bought it. Yep.
So yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah. So it was really important to me because the first 4 years I was really good at the business, but it was a straight commission business, so most people weren't. So I would I would meet 5 new employees a month, and they'd all be fired by the end of the month. And it just became really depressing, you know. So
Yeah.
I told myself, if I'm going to buy a company, then I'm going to train these people, and I'm going to pay them salaries. And at the time, that was a radical notion because the whole recruiting business was straight commission. Now, straight commission, I think, is illegal in most states, but back then it was common. So, so my goal was to hire people, treat them well, give them good technology, and then basically get out of their way, um, and trust them, right? So that's pretty much the motif and the theme of the business. So now we've gotten to the point where I have management in place that are all people that I've trained, that I've worked with for years. And so, you know, there's a Hobson culture, and there's a Hobson workflow, and there's a Hobson way of going at it. You know, everybody that works for me goes at it happy and hard. They take the business seriously, but not themselves. You know, headhunting is a business, Jada, where you're placing people in jobs. So you're
Yeah.
impacting their lives. So in some ways, it's a very serious thing. At the same time, you're dealing with people who are insane and neurotic and do stupid things. And if you don't laugh about it, you're going to lose your mind. So we've been fortunate. We've done well. We've made a lot of money, but we've also helped a lot of people. But we have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. I'll say it sounds fun. I used to want to be a person that helps people find their jobs.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? Like you said, people are a little crazy. So I
Oh
didn't want to
yeah.
deal with all those different crazy personalities.
Oh yeah. 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 You know, people who are in sales say, you know, you're a recruiter, so you're in sales. I'm in sales too. And I'm like, well, what do you sell? And they're like, well, I sell a medical device. And I'm like, okay, well, it's two different things because
Yeah.
if you sell the medical device never says, well, I don't feel like being sold, and I'm not going to show up on the first day of you selling me. But
Right.
but the people we place, you know, do that all the time. You know, they leave after 2 days, they ghost us, they don't show up. Um, so you're dealing with humans, and the great thing about it is they can say thank you, and they can be generous and wonderful, and of course they're human, so they can also do really really stupid things and break your heart. But you know,
Of
comes
course.
with the territory. Yeah.
So when you look at your role, how many hours do you spend normally working in your business? And then how many do you spend on the business, if that makes
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, it does. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I'm probably not a good person to ask because, you know, I'm a type A person through and through. You know, people here say Danny's so intense he grounds your teeth. Um, I- so yeah, I can't turn it off. I'm not. I probably in 40 years since I graduated college, I think I've taken um, more than a week's vacation, maybe 5 times, and there'll be years when I don't take vacations, and not for any reason other than I was busy doing something, or
Yeah.
and it just I was so into it, I didn't want to be away from it for a week or two, and then find that somebody screwed it up while I was gone. I don't you know, endorse that. I don't recommend it. I think people should recharge. I'm just saying I'm not a very good example of it because it would be
Yeah.
I'm a hypocrite. I'm like, I think you should take a vacation. I don't want to take one. Um, so I'm not able to let it go very well. I know other people are, and that's great. I know other people who own businesses who say, hey, you know, I'm just turning off my phone for 2 weeks. That would scare the hell out of me to turn off my
Oh,
phone
yeah.
for 2 weeks. I can't imagine, but people do it all the time. Good for them.
See, and I'm like, I'm a person, I can ignore people for a little bit, but then I start to feel bad and I'm like, okay, they're waiting
Yeah.
too long. I need to get back to them. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah. I'm
totally
with you.
understand that. I'm the
I'm
person
with you.
I don't I would love to take a vacation, but I'm also someone's gonna mess something up and I don't want them to mess it up whenever I already have it looking good or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
some people aren't trustworthy. So I totally understand that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. So many business owners, especially those that are newer to entrepreneurship, they feel as though they don't have enough time. So I'm curious, based on your experience, if I were to give you an extra 10 hours back each week, how would you invest those hours?
Yeah, so I manage and train people, and I speak at conferences where people are always asking me about time management, and this
Mm-hmm.
this is where I get pretty tough with people, Jada. I got to tell you, I don't buy it for a second. You've got 24 hours today, and so do I. It's a very democratic thing, a clock, right? You get 7 days this week, and I get 7 days this week. The book, uh, not the book you were talking about, but the second book was a memoir called Aging Disgracefully, which is
Mm-hmm.
about basically a divorce and a midlife crisis. And so many people I would see on the road would say, I read your book and I felt like I could have written that book. Like that happened to me. And I don't doubt them. It's not like it's such an original thing, right? I mean, we all have divorces and we all have midlife crises. But what
Right.
I don't say to them, because I don't want to be unkind, is, well, what were you doing on Saturday night those 2 years that I was writing the book? How many movies did you go to? How many family anniversary parties did you go to? Did you watch 60 Minutes every night? Do you like football? I like football. I like 60 Minutes. I like my family. And for 2 years, I didn't do any of those things because I wanted to write a book. I mean, I wrote chapters on airplanes in the middle seat with a little kid crying next to me. It's a choice. Um, I wanted to finish that book, and choices have consequences. So I never wanted to be that person, Jada, who looked back and said, I could have been a writer, and I could have been wealthy, and I could have run a business, but you
Yeah.
didn't. But you didn't,
Right.
and you made choices. So same thing. I have a group of people that I've been working out with at 5 in the morning for 30 years, and as we get older, more and more of them stop showing up. And then I run
Yeah.
into them, and they gain some weight, or their joints hurt, and it's like, you made a choice. You stopped doing what helped you, and I'm not going to. So, I'm not trying to say I'm better than somebody else. I'm just saying that I figured out a long time ago we all have the same amount of hours, and we have, the way Stephen Covey, who wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said the way you should spell the word responsibility is response hyphen ability, meaning you have an ability to respond any way you want. So when you're tired, you have a responsibility. You could go take a nap, or you could have a cup of coffee and go finish what you're supposed to be doing. Um, and so, you know, people in my world always say, boy, Danny is so disciplined. But it doesn't feel that way to me. I just feel like, no, there are things I want to get done. And I would feel
Yeah.
horrible if I said, you know what, I was supposed to do this client presentation, but I didn't get it done. I had to send an email to the client lying and saying that I had a death in the family, and I didn't want to be that person. No, I'm going to get it
Yeah.
done. I'm going to get it done.
It's like you have the determination to keep
Yeah,
doing it and getting it done and finishing what it is.
yeah, yeah.
And that's perfect.
Right.
I wish more people were like that. I wish I was like that. Like I feel as if I'll say I'm gonna do something. I will get lazy. I feel like that's just my whole generation. We're just a
Yeah,
little lazier,
yeah.
and that's okay to admit. But no, I wish that I was like that. Like I had that grit that you have to keep going and like pushing myself.
And I give your generation a lot of slack too, because I did not have the distractions that you guys had. And we all have
There's
distractions,
so much.
but I didn't have a smartphone where the whole world of the internet was available to me. And of course, it's more fun to watch funny TikTok videos than it is to do some deep thinking about a project.
Right.
But there was always something better to do than than making 25 cold calls or writing a chapter in a book. There's always something to do. It isn't
Right.
as visceral as the phone, or as tempting as the phone. So I understand that you guys have had more distractions, and it's harder for you guys to be focused than ever before. And I honestly sympathize there. Yeah, I think it's gonna require a certain depth of character now to get things done that it wasn't required for me. I was just
Yeah.
stubborn. Yeah,
Yeah, I think about that all the time. I was even just thinking about it before the interview because I
yeah,
read a lot. I've read a lot about you. So I was like, this is very interesting. I was very intrigued to interview you. So yeah, and then I was thinking about how, yeah, back in the day there wasn't technology for real, so you
Hmm.
guys got your stuff done.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's cool to like look back and like and then see how it is today.
right. And it has far-reaching implications too, because people will then assign, character judgments to people. Like an example, my sister, when her twin boys were in their early teens, she called me freaked out because she caught them looking at porn on their phone. And she said, "You weren't looking at porn at 13." And I'm like, "Because I couldn't get it. Because I couldn't find it. I was looking. Believe me, I was
You're like, it was
looking."
just magazines back then, and you had to
Yeah,
steal
that's
them from your
right.
parents.
Oh my God. If I had smartphones and porn access at that age, I would be blind right now. I mean, so we say that they're weaker in character because they're doing this. They're not. They're just overwhelmed by stimulus, you know?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. But okay, so let's
Yeah.
get back to the nitty gritty of your business itself.
Sure.
And let's take a look at your background a bit and what led you here. So, why did you choose to, I guess you didn't really go into this yourself, but why did you choose to buy the company instead of making your own company from scratch, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah, I look back now and it seemed like a natural progression, right? Like this is part of
Mm-hmm.
the baby boomer ethos. Like I was raised that you take a job, you become the best person at that company at that job, and then they promote you to the manager of other people. And then eventually, if it's a business, you buy the business. That's just how it works. Like that's that's how life is supposed to go in those increments.
Yeah.
So it just didn't, when I first was working for the owner then, John Hobson, I was like, well, he pulls in the office with a brand new car and he has really nice suits and he comes and goes as he pleases. And I was like, okay, I want what he has. How do I do that? And he laughed later, but I was 22 and I went in his office probably in 2 months and I said, so how do I do this? How do I become you? Um, and he told me you gotta make a lot of money for the company and then you gotta buy me out. And I was like, okay, thanks. And
Yeah, you're like,
that's
I'm
all
gonna do it.
that's all I needed to know. And then I did it 4 years later. So yeah, it never occurred to me to do anything else. Like it just seemed like the way you're supposed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did it feel to be able to buy the company? I think you said you were 27 or 26.
26, yeah. Yeah.
How did that feel? Because of course now I would be amazed with myself nowadays. Like 26, I'm 29 right now, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's out of my range now. But
Right.
that's like mind blowing.
Well, it was kind of terrifying to be honest because well, I shouldn't say it was terrifying because one of the great gifts that I got from my parents was we were raised super poor. We were very poor. You know, it was always difficult to get food and keep the house warm and pay the rent. So we were really poor. So when I was
Mm-hmm.
26, I had made money for a few years now, and I had I think $367,000 saved. And when we were trying to figure out what the company was worth, my boss said, "Well, how much do you have?" And I said, "I have 367,000." He said, "That's fine." And I gave him everything I had. So I look back now and I realize, oh, I was pretty naive and stupid. But um, the saving grace was, I mean, I looked at it and said, okay, I'm giving him everything I own. We put, I think it was $60,000 aside for payroll that was supposed to get us through a couple of months because we had like 4 employees. And we both knew that if I didn't make sales and get revenue in 2 months, then we would be out of business and I would be bankrupt. And I think for most people at 26, the idea of being bankrupt and having no credit and losing all their credit cards, and I had a condo at the time, I would have lost my home, um, didn't scare me at all. I was just like, I've already been poor. I know what that's like. I got through it. I'll go through it again. So I was terrified to give them all that money. At the same time, I was like, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is I'll be back to where I was 4 years ago. That's fine. I was already poor once. I've been poor, I've been rich. Rich is better, but poor is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I love how that turned out for you because like I said, I don't have that mindset. I
Yeah.
need that mindset terribly. But yeah, I would have gave up. So the fact
Yeah.
that yeah, that's crazy. I would have been like, nope, you're not taking all my money. Oh, that would have scared the crap out of me. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as you look back on your journey so far, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that you were challenged with and you were forced to overcome?
Good question. There's always um, market realities. So, you look if you look at the headhunting business, the two roadblocks that came was first LinkedIn, because companies started to say, well, maybe we could just find candidates through LinkedIn and we don't have to pay a recruiting firm. And for some positions they can do that, but it's not a perfect solution because the best companies want to hire the best people, and the best people are not looking. So they might be on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, but they're not responding to job postings, and they're not trolling the internet to look for a job. The people that we place aren't looking for a job, so they're not responding to postings. But it certainly was a roadblock because companies got drunk with the idea and said, "Oh, we can cut back on paying companies like mine fees." Um, so that's a roadblock, and of course, the first any recession is tough because in a recession there's less hiring, so there's less business for us.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say probably the first 3 months of the pandemic were certainly uh, an existential crisis for not just my business but any business because nobody could go to work. So by definition, we
Yeah.
couldn't place people because there was no place for them to go. So luckily for us, we had a lot of money in the bank and we could wait it out. But there were a lot of companies in my industry that were not in that position cash flow wise, and they went under. So I would say LinkedIn and the early part of the pandemic were the two big challenges of my work life, and luckily we got our way through both of them.
Hmm. So what impact did that have on your growth as a business owner?
Well, I certainly decided back then that, um, and I think it's now coming to fruition with AI. There's ways to scale search firms without necessarily having tons and tons and tons of recruiters. There's
Mm-hmm.
virtual assistants. There's autonomous agents that are coming into the market. Um, there's certainly internet tools that do a lot of the work that you used to have to pay full-time people for. So I think there's an ability to scale now that wasn't there, when I first started in the business. And certainly now we have remote offices, whereas in the past, everybody had to, you know, come into Cheshire 5 days a week, and they had to live in Connecticut. And now we have offices in Florida and South Carolina and Indiana and Phoenix and Dallas
Nice.
and New Jersey and Boston. So yeah, we are able to scale that on a remote basis, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. Okay, so let's move on to what makes your business so special. So, who primarily does your business serve? If I was in the audience, how would I know that I'm a great fit for your guys' service?
Yeah, so we're a true executive search firm. So if you're looking for an accounts payable clerk, then you call Robert Half. But in our practice areas, and we're very niche, so we're niched in insurance, software sales, health tech, which is digital health people, med tech people, um, manufacturing people, admin people. In our niches, we have uh, relationships with candidates that we formed for a very long time. We have one of the deepest, largest databases in the country. So we already have relationships with these candidates. So the candidate that you're trying to hire who's not responding to you will respond to us because he or she knows us. So if you're in any of our practice areas and you're trying to hire somebody for a very important position, what we call a mission critical position, it normally takes a company using their talent act team and LinkedIn 75, 90 days. We can fill that job in 37 to 40 days. So we're true experts in those niches, and we can find you better people faster. is basically our value prop.
Yeah, that's definitely faster than them taking their time and trying to
Right,
go through all these profiles. Yeah, that's because
right.
there's sometimes there's like over 100 people who apply. Like for this
Oh,
job, whenever I applied, oh,
worse
you're
than
like
that.
agree.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Oh,
worse
you
than
know,
that with AI now.
oh
Like
yeah, I didn't even think
now,
about that.
oh yeah, now you can set you can set an AI agent to reply to all postings in your world. So you just give it 6 or 7 keywords and say any job that is this, this, or this, apply to it, and it automatically applies. So if you're a human resource manager, you post something at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're getting 1,200 responses by noon, but all of them tend to use the same chat GBT messaging.
Hmm.
So they all look alike, they all sound alike. A lot of them are bots and not humans. So they tend to ignore all of them. So they get buried with response. So that's one of the reasons why people use us, because they say, I ran a post and I got 5,000 people. I can't go through all of them. Have you got 5 people
Yeah,
that are qualified that I can see tomorrow? And we cut through the chase for you. Yeah.
yeah, that's way better.
Hmm.
What is one thing that you wish more people knew about your business?
Huh. I think the companies think the candidates grow on trees and are easy to find, and they are easy to find. So I said this to a VP just a couple hours ago. He's like, well, all these people are on LinkedIn and you've got all these people in your database. Why do you charge so much money? And it's like, the front end of our business has never been easier, but the back end has
Mm,
never been harder. Candidates are, the phrase people are using now is job hugging, meaning they are very reluctant to make moves because they know the economy is uncertain and they're afraid they'll be the first ones laid off at their next job. So candidates will do interview twice and then get cold feet and back out. They won't show up for offer interviews. They'll ghost you after you send them an offer. So a big part of what we do, and clients don't understand it, is we don't just find people for you, we deliver them. We take them through the fear of change. We're like consultants, but really therapists for these candidates. Once we get trust with them, we can often convince them to take a job that they're just very reluctant to take. So yeah, clients don't understand that you're really paying a search firm for the end of the process, not the front of it.
yeah. Okay. So then this is going to lead me into marketing, which that's obviously something vital for every business out there and often the
Yeah.
area that business owners struggle with. So I'm always curious what a successful business is doing. So what percentage of your monthly sales is typically invested back into your marketing budget?
We honestly don't keep the numbers that way, Jada's, because every recruiter who's running a desk for us is a separate entity. We consider them, their own profit center. So every
Oh,
recruiter
yeah,
every recruiter is responsible for their own quote unquote sales, which means getting clients who want to give us jobs. But we're a sales organization, meaning some recruiting firms can see themselves as HR consultants. We see ourselves
yeah.
as
Okay.
salespeople who are in the people business. So we take a much more what somebody else might call a hardcore approach. Like somebody else might send you 8,000 emails, a cadence email saying, "Hey, we're Hobson Associates and we have great people. If you need anybody, give us a call." That's way too passive for us. We're aggressively
Hmm.
calling people and making sales presentations to them and saying, you should use us. Here's why. So we're much more aggressive about it. So we're we're selling every day, all day. We have what's called a power hour in our business, which means from 8:30 to about 10 o'clock, everybody in the business is supposed to be doing business development or marketing.
Oh, cool. So then with since you guys like have to call people, do you guys have like a CRM where you guys keep all of those people in or
We do. Yeah, we do. Yeah. And there's other internet tools. I mean, we have a CRM called Bullhorn, which is sort of the Cadillac of the recruiting industry, but we're using, things like Zoom Info as a database to get to get clients. And, chat is very good at market mapping what clients might be looking for talent in certain areas. So we're using AI and chat for that as well.
Okay, cool. Okay. So moving from marketing to sales, what does your guys' sales process look like? Like if I were to refer you over to someone, what could they expect to experience as you guys were to guide them into choosing to do business with you? Sorry, that was really long.
No, I get it. Yeah. Well, we take a very consultative approach. So if somebody were to say, hey, we're looking for a vice president or a controller or a sales manager, the first step and the most important step for us is what we call the intake call. So you're going to be on if you're local, we'll go see you. But if you're like most of our clients, because we work nationally, it's a Zoom call like this or Google Meets call where the practice manager and one or two of his associates would be on the call, and we're first going to see if we're the right vendor for you. So we'll say, this is about you. What are you looking for? What type of role? What type of profile? What type of culture is it there? How are you going to attract? So what I say to clients all the time is, if you want one of your competitors' best people, then when I get that person on the phone, I have to be able to say to he or she, because they don't have to look, they're not looking, they're very well paid, they're happy where they are, but they will move for the right opportunity. If you don't have an opportunity that's better than the one they have, then I can't give you your competitors' best people. You're going to have to hire one of your competitors' less than good people, and that's never a good. So in the client intake, we push them hard to tell us what's so great about your company and why would somebody want to go to work there. So once we have the client intake done correctly, then we pretty much know what candidates to target, what story to tell them, to attract them to make a move, and then we start the interview process.
Okay. It almost sounds like almost like a coaching type of process.
Part of it is, yeah. Once the candidate's in the interview process, yeah, it does become coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Okay. So you, of course, you guys have a team. You mentioned that you guys have them where possible. And then, of course, I feel it's important to address the topic of building a great team. So how would you describe your leadership style in business, and has it changed over the years?
Oh yeah, I think it has. I mean, I think I've become, more mellow. You, I was a very young paternal manager, so I was
Mm-hmm.
I was all over people, and I learned what I learned. I think, which made me a good manager, which I probably wasn't in the beginning. Was in the beginning I was trying to hire people that reminded me of me, and
Yeah.
that's always a mistake, right? Because
Yes.
first of all, most of them are going to let you down. And then the ones who are like you're going to realize, oh, you don't like yourself very much because this person's really irritating, right?
Yeah.
So what I've got pretty good at is saying, I'm going to hire the opposite of me. We already have one of me. So where do we need a skill set? For example, my general manager, who is lifetimes better at the job than I am or ever was, um, she and I are the opposite of each other. She's super analytic and super smart, and she can lay out a workflow and process after I come up with some crazy concept. So I'm pretty good on the conceptual side and the forecasting side and the look into the future wizardry. And she's the one that has to go, okay, I don't know what any of that means. How do we actually make this a business, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to learn to hire the opposite of what you are when you're building a small business. And then, of course, back then I was dealing with people who came in 8 to 5. So it was, you better be here at 8 and you better stay till 5. And I had,
Yeah.
I had rules and I had regulations. And now it's a remote company with people in Cheshire are here on a 3 days in, 2 days home kind of thing. So you just have to learn to manage by. I stopped managing how people did what they did and started managing what they did. So back then I did both. I managed, here's what you're supposed to get done today, and here's how I expect you to do it. And now I'm just like, I don't care how you do it. I don't care when you do it. I just care that you do it. So,
Yeah.
my senior partner in Scottsdale, I know she takes 3-hour lunches and works on her tan, but she also gets everything done. And who cares? Who cares, right? So it took me a long time to
Right.
realize you manage the what, not the how.
Yeah. No, that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense because then it is like at least the person is still happy to do their job, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
like because you're not like micromanaging or
Right.
whatever other word might be used for that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
that
think
makes a
that's
lot of
fair.
sense. Yeah. So do you think that you see any other leaders developing on your team?
Oh yeah, we've already got them. We've got several practice managers. We have 8 equity partners. I mean, uh, I could turn the firm over or die tomorrow, and they'd be fine. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, that's good for your company. Yeah.
It really
That's
is, of course.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
How many employees do you have like in total?
Well, how many employees? A lot of times people say how many people work for you, and the answer is about half. But how many how many employees do we actually have? 30, give or take. Yeah, 30-ish, which is big for a search
That's a
firm.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First,
that's a lot.
yeah.
Sorry, my hand's starting to cramp. Okay, so what type of training do you have in place for your team members? Like, is this like a on the job type of training, or do you guys have like watch training videos?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that I started a motivational speaking business, and that business is really
Yeah.
a training business for recruiters as well. So that company's called According to Danny. It's the largest online subscription training company for recruiters in the industry, and that's been in business for about 22 years. So the answer is yeah, we have a very specific training program, and all the videos are mine. So I do all that training, and now we have a training manager who does some of the after they're trained, up and running, ongoing training. But their initial training is yeah very very specific, and
Yeah.
we do it in a modular way. But yeah, it's all our own patented stuff.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, you have like a little bit of something everywhere. I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so let's fast forward and take a look at what's to come next. So
Yeah.
where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. I think there's a big transformation going on, not just for the recruiting industry, but American industry in general. So
Hmm.
AI is either going to be a big so what? Everybody thought it was going to change everything, and it changed 15% of everything, or it could be one of those transformational eras where you go from horses to cars, right? Where you go from candles to electricity. Um, so in the I think in the short run, it's just going to be very helpful to increase the productivity of the American worker. And I think there'll be different jobs than there are right now. Long run, it's hard not to see that it's going to have some sort of impact on the amount of jobs. There's going to be an awful lot of jobs that will be impacted. So I think the recruiting industry will have to adjust to the types of jobs that are going to develop because of AI. And there will be some that, their niches will disappear and they'll have to change. So we're cognizant of
Hmm.
that, but I think, we're very into AI here. We were on it right from the beginning. So we think 3 to 5 years, there'll be an increase in productivity and we'll do great. Big picture, if AI replaces 40% of the American jobs, then I have to be concerned. You have to be concerned. Theoretically, a robot
Yeah.
could do this interview, right? So, but that's oftentimes hype. There's been a lot of times in my career when people have said, "Oh, with LinkedIn, there won't be any recruiting industry in 5 years." Well, turns out that the recruiting industry became the biggest customer of LinkedIn. So, for all I know, AI is not going to replace recruiting, but just make recruiters more productive. Hard to say. It's a little too early to know.
Yeah. No, I get it. Hopefully AI doesn't take all of our jobs because
Yeah.
then it's like, what are we going to be doing?
Right. Yeah. I have no idea.
Well, Danny, you have a really interesting story. So as
Thank you.
we wrap up, I do have a few rapid fire questions. Are
Sure.
you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So what is the key to success for you?
For me, I would say show up every day. Just show up. That's most of it. Show up.
Right. And then what is one piece of advice that you would give other business owners?
I would say you have to find that sweet spot between being aware of potential threats to your business without living in fear of them.
Ooh, that was good. I might put that on my Instagram later. Okay, and this is just a little fun question. So
Yeah.
if you had a bit of magic dust and you could choose to put it on one spot in your business and sprinkle it, where would it be?
Oh boy, if that magic dust allowed me to clone people, then I would clone my partners in the business because they're all amazing, special people, and they're very hard to replicate. And I can't find enough of them, but boy, if that dust could clone them, it'd be pretty sweet.
Right, because then you could just place them everywhere that you need them
Yeah.
to
Yep.
be.
Absolutely.
Like you go over to this city, you go over here.
Yep.
That'd be cool. Okay, so before we get to the final question of the day, could
Yeah.
you please share with our audience how they can follow you, learn more, and contact you?
Yeah, sure. The search firm is called Hobson, Hobson Associates. And the training company for recruiters is called accordingtodanny.com. I'm really active on LinkedIn. All my books are on Amazon. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Well, we've come to that final question of the day, and it
Yeah.
is, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, that's easy. It would be the young people here that are in their 20s. I just think they get such a bad rap. Everybody in my age group is like, oh, these kids are so entitled and they're such brats and, they don't want to work. And I just have not found that to be true. It's like the people that are in their early 20s here are crushing it and working hard. And I tell my fellow baby boomers, I'm like, they're much nicer than we were. They're much kinder. They're much more tolerant. They're just better people than we are. So knowing that they're the ones that are going to be running the place, the whole world, in 20 years, that's inspiring to me. They're awesome.
I love that. And it's also funny because I feel like the generation is nicer just because you guys grew up with such hard parents, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it was like you guys had to step into those roles too. So it's understandable. We
Yeah.
had it easy. We had
Yeah.
it way easier.
Yeah. I got to give you that. I mean, I remember coming home one day when I was like a little kid and giving my mother my report card, and she said, it's it's too bad because your teachers say that you have so much potential, but we're never going to find out because I'm going to kill you. Um, and I believed her, which is part of where the drive came from. So yeah, parents were different in those days. Parents could not get away
Yes.
with what my parents got away with.
No,
That's for
not at all.
sure. Yeah,
They
that is for
definitely have
sure.
like someone that's knocking on the door, like,
Right,
you said
exactly.
what?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed hearing your story. So thank you a lot for sharing.
Thank you, Jada.
And also,
Pleasure.
I encourage all of you who are watching to save this show and come back and watch it again because Danny really did have some great insights to business. And then also, do not forget to subscribe and like our channel so that you can get notifications every time a new conversation drops, just like this one. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, and a special thank you to you, Danny, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Jada. Thank you. Bye bye.